Right, everyone, let's get this smashed. I'm speaking ahead of double game week 28. Now, before I cover today's press conferences, I did drop a video on Thursday which covered in depth Leeds, Brighton, Burnley, and Southampton. So if you want a little bit of context with regards to their injuries, please check out that video. I may mention one or two updates from those teams, but like I say, I won't go into any great detail. So starting off with today, we'll kick off in the early start at the King Power Stadium where Leicester do entertain Leeds. Brendan Rodgers did speak around about 1:30 on Friday, so around about an hour and a half ago. And he informed us that Ricardo Pereira, of course, forced off at half-time with turf more because of tightness in his hamstring, may not be risks. He did indicate or suggest that Mark Albrighton could be an option at right back, and that's probably the way I see that one going. There are also question marks over the availability of James Maddison. That's a lower back issue. Of course, he came on as sub against Burnley. Any decision will be left until the last moment. Doesn't look to be too serious. What Rodgers did say, if he was to miss out on Saturday, he will return in the next game week. Rodgers did also hint or suggest that Jamie Vardy could start the game at the King Power. Of course, he came off. His 20-minute cameo resulted in that 2-0 win. He got the assist and a goal. Rodgers said, look, we don't know if he could or if he is ready to complete 90 minutes, but we'll give it a try. So again, like I say, he's a massive influence for that Leicester team, and he does change things up considerably for them. For Leeds, the main talking point could be around the new coach, Jess Marsh. He mentioned that Patrick Bamford was on the training pitches and he wouldn't definitively rule him out, although I would suggest, the best he could cope for, I think it's 22 minutes he's played since last September, would be a place amongst the substitute. And Diego Llorente, he was a doubt after missing training on Thursday. Now to Aston Villa, Steven Gerrard. No massive changes in the Villa camp. Bertrand Traore has 2 full days of training under his belt, so he can't be completely ruled out of the game. I expect Villa to probably be unchanged. They ended a 2-game losing streak last weekend. Ollie Watkins returned to the side, and of course Danny Ings, he's up against his former employers. That would mean, if it was to say the same, that Emi Buendia would miss out. For the Saints, there's a few injury concerns there. Mohamed Salazou, tight hamstring. He wasn't risked in the FA Cup. He has more of a chance of returning, while Kyle Walker-Peters was forced off in that cup tie win over West Ham. So there's going to be question marks over him. But Ralph Hasenhüttl does have options with Roman Peru, who could come into that team. Elyounoussi was another one who wasn't risked in the cup because of a heel issue. But again, I understand that is not too serious. For Burnley, the big question mark would be over Ben Mee. Nathan Collins could come in to take his place alongside James Tarkowski, but also the likes of Jack Cork and maybe Jay Rodriguez will be pushing for a return after Maxwell Cornet and Ashley Westwood were included in the starting 11 on Tuesday evening as Sean Dyche went to freshen his team. Now, Chelsea, better check my little crib sheet here because there's a few things going on there. Hakim Ziyech, Achilles, missed the last 2. He has trained, so he is in contention. And Thiago Silva and Trevor Chalobah, minor groin, shall we say, laceration that he picked up in that challenge with Naby Keita in the Carabao Cup. Both of those players are fine after they were rested or taken out of the squad as a precautionary measure against Luton in the FA Cup. There was no mention of Andreas Christensen. He had picked up an Achilles problem on the eve of that Carabao Cup final, so we're not too sure if he's going to be in and around the squad. Elsewhere, Reece James is fine. He was coming off the back of a long-term hamstring injury. He's had no reaction in those 2 appearances he had, so he will be in the matchday squad. And I suspect if Azpilicueta is going to miss out, after that, not that Reece James could be in for his first start since picking up that hamstring injury. Elsewhere, the only main talking point at Newcastle is the fitness of Alan Saint-Maximin. Of course, he spent a week of intensive treatment in Monaco before returning ahead of game week 27. Eddie Howe at that time said he was way short of being involved. He still hasn't or he hadn't of at the time of the press conference been involved in full training. That was hoping to happen on Friday. And if he comes through that unscathed, again, that gives him a chance. But after that 2-0 win at Brentford, I expect Newcastle to be unchanged, and San Maxim, which would be 3 weeks out, could have a place on the bench. If not this, maybe for their second game of this game week. And of course, Newcastle are the only team with a double-double. So a lot of people considering their assets. In Brighton, they arrive on Tyneside. Adam Lallana making good progress. He could be included in the matchday squad. But bad news with regards to Adam Webster. He suffered a slight setback from a groin problem ahead of game week 27. Now that could keep him out until after the international break. I think it's Tottenham, maybe game week 30, if I recall. There's an outside chance of him making that match. Otherwise, like I say, it could be early April for that one. Next up, we have Norwich. Only 2 confirmed absentees. They're both long-term issues. Adam Eder, he had surgery on a knee or meniscus problem, and also Andrew Odebelli. He's been advised by specialists that he has to wear a corset for at least the next 2 to 3 weeks to address an ongoing and persistent back problem. Initially, that was related as a stress-related response, a fracture in that lower back, and he hasn't been making any progress really since in the last couple of months. But Max Aarons and also Brandon Williams, they're fine. They missed out at Anfield in the FA Cup. And also Ozan Kabak, he had a shoulder issue, and he is putting himself in contention. Dean Smith wasn't giving anything away with who would start in goal for this must-not-lose game, he said, against Brentford. Tim Krul obviously returned from a shoulder injury, and he did start against Liverpool. Inherently, he was their first choice, so it's between him and Gunn. For Wolves, only the one injury concern really, and that's Nelson Semedo. Local media reports suggested on Thursday that he could be out for up to 8 weeks. Bruno Lage in his press conference on Friday suggested it's a minimum of 4, so we're looking at April in the very earliest before we'll see him back. Who'll come in on that right-hand side? Johnny is an option, although again, he's coming off the back of a long-term knee injury, ACL reconstruction. Or Hoover is the other one who started last weekend, and of course, Wolves lost for their second consecutive games. Expect Bruno Lage to revert back to the team that started at Arsenal with those 5 changes, and Raul Jimenez starting that attack, as opposed to all of those ones that they lost against West Ham. For Palace, Joel Ward is out there on the training pitches, but he isn't training with the team, so he won't be considered by Patrick Vieira. That opens the door, basically leaves Nathaniel Klein as a right-back option. For Liverpool, a couple of question marks here. Curtis Jones, he was withdrawn as a precautionary measure, bit of tightness in his thigh against Norwich. He may not be risked by Jurgen Klopp. Thiago, the game comes too soon. He will be assessed ahead of the Champions League tie against Inter. Also, Joel Matip is ruled out because of illness, so that means Konate will come in alongside Van Dijk. Roberto Firmino, he isn't training. Not a lot being said on him in recent times, but he could be back on Sunday. And again, if that happens, that does put him in contention for that Champions League tie against Inter Milan. Who else we got at Liverpool? Nothing major, I don't think, on that front. For West Ham, Aaron Cresswell missed out midweek. He should be absolutely fine. Ryan Fredericks is making good progress from a groin problem. David Moyes also said that Arthur Masuaku is making decent progress, and he could return before the end of the season. And also murmurings with regards to Angelo Ogbonna. Of course, he ruptured his ACL. Initially thought that he would be out for the remainder of the campaign, but like I say, there's an outside chance that he could potentially return in May, but I think there's a lot of context in and around that. And if if West Ham don't have much to play for, then I would suggest that the centre-back probably best off just focusing on getting fit for that pre-season, and no need to risk things and push things unnecessarily. Thomas Souček, he took a blow to the face, deep laceration, he's had stitches. So David Moyes admitted there were concerns over the availability of the midfielder. So we'll wait and see what happens with regards to that one. Watford, Club website provided an update to say Kiko Firmino was back in contention after recovering from the knock that kept him out the draw at Old Trafford. Also, Peter Atubu is in contention. Nicholas Nkolo, he's hoping to rejoin the squad in full training very soon. Now, there was no mention of Ismail Sarr. However, we have just heard from Roy Hodgson, and he informs us that the winger is out as a hamstring-related issue. There is no timeline with regards to his recovery, but it suggests there's going to be at least maybe 2 to 3 weeks with regards to that. It could even extend beyond, and like I say, after the international break, and it may not be before April before we see them. Their opponents on the day, Arsenal, London derby, of course, North London derby. Mikel Arteta confirms it's basically the same squad as last weekend. Concerns over Tomiyasu, that calf problem, but Emile Smith-Rowe does come back after recovering from illness. Manchester City, they've been dealt a double injury blow, in particular with Ruben Dias. We've seen him replaced at half-time at Peterborough. Didn't think it was anything too serious. Pep sort of indicated that it was more of a precautionary measure. We now understand that this hamstring injury will keep him out for at least a month. It could potentially extend beyond to around about 6 weeks. Nathan Ake, also forced off at the break during that game, is ruled out of the game, out of that match. Gabriel Jesus was starting, and also Jack Grealish got minutes, so that puts them in contention for a start. And also Cole Palmer is hoping to rejoin the group in training very, very soon. It's a Manchester derby, and Edison Cavani, he's returned to the training pitches from a groin problem that's been happening for in and around a month. So that'll give him a chance. Ralph Rangnick won't make any definitive decision until after training on Friday or even Saturday. He wants to make sure that there's no reaction. But should he come through those sessions without any problems, he will be included. And also Scott McTominay, he's missed the last 2 with illness, but he has been pictured with the group. Antonio Conte and Tottenham, they don't play, of course, until Monday, where they entertain and welcome Everton to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Now, good and bad news with regards to their current team news and fitness worries. Oliver Skipp still having problems with that groin, so he won't make the game. And in fact, maybe his timeline has slipped a little bit. Japhet Tanganga, he's maybe 7, 10, possibly even 14 days away from a return from recovering from that knee problem. But Lucas Moura, dead leg, a thigh impact injury, is absolutely fine. And also Rodrigo's Bentancur has recovered from an ankle problem, and that puts him in contention. For Everton, Frank Lampard is hopeful that Dominic Calvert-Lewin can recover from an adductor problem this weekend. Start training puts him in contention, but given his lack of minutes and game time this season, any involvement is probably going to come from the bench. Mykolenko, he was forced off with a dead leg against Boreham Wood. 50-50 at this point. Hopefully, fingers crossed, it's not too serious and he could be back in contention. Andre Gomez, he's missed the last couple with a thigh problem. He's absolutely fine now and he's training ahead of that. But the game will come too soon for Ben Godfrey. He's been out for quite a while now with a hamstring issue. All being well, he should train with the group next week, and he is a possibility for game week 29. Hopefully that's us all done. Definitely not a Ben 10, maybe more like a Ben 16 or 17, but there you go. I'm not editing. That's down to Jay. So apologies for that. Have a great weekend, everyone. Plan this double game week well, and you could see some massive upsides. Big couple of weeks on the horizon. So fingers crossed. See you all again very, very soon.